PNR with Adam R. Welcome to 3PNR. I'm your host, Adam R., and this is in collaboration with the Onyx Network. And on this episode, I have Jim Andre. Jim, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Jim, why don't we discuss your background and what got you involved with this subject?
Well, there was something there when I was around 8 years old that was always in the back of my mind, which I think was connected with the Betty and Barney Hill abduction. They were abducted on September 19th, 1961, which was coincidentally my 8th birthday. And somehow I have like a vague memory of something transpiring, but I can't fully grasp it. And then move on to 2012, the fall of 2012, I was abducted and left with an alien tattoo on my right forearm.
Oh, and that got you investigating the subject?
Yes.
So in the abduction, what do you recall happening?
All right. Well, I was living in Massachusetts at the time. Since then, a couple of years ago, I relocated to Florida. I'm retired now. But at the time, I was a Massachusetts constable and a part-time motor coach bus driver, which I did a commuter run. And I'd have to get up 3 o'clock in the morning. So I distinctly remember it was a Wednesday night. And I was sitting down at the computer, and I looked at the lower right-hand corner of the computer monitor to know what time it was, with the back of my mind, knowing that I had to get up early for work, and it said 9:15 p.m. So the next thing I know, I'm waking up, wondering where I'm at, sitting in the same spot, same chair in front of the computer. I'm looking around the room trying to gather my thoughts. I look over at the alarm clock, and it said 2:57 a.m.
Huh, so
and
you had missing time.
So as I'm gathering my thoughts, I feel an intense burning sensation on my right forearm. And, I know this sounds bizarre. I'm beside myself still today. I look down and there's a tattoo that depicts an alien gray on my forearm.
Huh. Listen, it doesn't sound strange. There's things in science that are still mysterious that we don't. We have machines that are making atoms run into one another, right? So,
we got that CERN project, yeah.
Yeah, and then we don't know the outcomes of all that, and who knows what we're doing in the name of science behind closed doors.
I'll tell you, I will say that my belief is that man's intelligence is going to be his downfall.
Well, of course, right? Because we're going to eventually let AI take control, and then, not like it's going to be Terminator, because let's be honest.
Well, just that Hadron Collider alone, they don't know what they're playing with.
Right. It could be opening gateways, doorways,
right, exactly.
Or altering physics around our planet we shouldn't be messing with. We don't know. So, again, I make room for a lot. I'm not close. I approach everything with no stance on anything, right? I don't have a particular position.
You have to have an open mind, because with a closed mind, you don't gain any knowledge. So.
Yeah, and I have this thing I say where there's no bad information. You just got to know how to filter. That's really what it comes down to.
I agree.
In the abductions, I've been reading a lot about them, and they're sounding parallel to, angelic beings in a lot of ways. Not to say that's what they are, but just, I see the parallels in that.
Well, I don't believe they're here to hurt us in any way, because, with their advanced technology, they could have done that. They could have obliterated us long ago, if that was their intention. So.
I have a theory that we're under a long-term study, because they have to be benign, because from what we know, it's been popular for 70 years. If they had ill intentions, I imagine by now they would have already made them known, because what can we do?
Right, exactly.
So, there's nothing we can really do about it. There's no fight back on that. Their technology is superior.
Well, we're actually at their mercy in a way, but I don't think their intentions are malevolent, you know what I mean?
For now, right? Because that's the same can be said. Look how we are as a species, right? We find something new, we study a long time.
Well, we're our own worst enemy. We have no one to fear but ourselves. We don't compete against no one but ourselves. So how do you think they think we would treat them?
Yeah, think about it.
I'll react to them.
If we find a civilization of people that we have, where they don't know about, our civilization, we would study it, but the moment we find, shiny stuff or materials that we could possibly use, we're gonna invade because we're gonna need that material. In your investigations, are you interviewing a lot of other people, abductees?
Oh, well, I started a Facebook group page called the Alien Connection Truth Network. That's got about maybe, I think, 123,000 members at this point. Huh. So, yeah, I mean, we've got, a pretty good sized group there on Facebook.
And you're finding a lot of consistency as far as, people being abducted, kind of similar stories?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that extraterrestrials are out there, and there have been abductions. I mean, one abduction, as I mentioned before, was Barney and Betty Hill. And I believe that to be an authentic abduction case and not a hoax, for the simple fact that happened in 1961, and they were an interracial married couple. And back then, that was taboo. So I would think that the last thing they would want to do is bring unnecessary or unwanted attention upon themselves with something so bizarre.
I have to agree with that. Happen. I do. I agree with that wholeheartedly, especially in that era, right? Because you're talking in an era.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Lynching was still a thing. It's a scary.
I mean, that was big racial violence back then, segregation and all that stuff. So I mean, that they'd have to be insane to come out with a bizarre story like that if it were not true.
In a future podcast coming soon, I'm going to be speaking to someone that has direct links to that case, and the more I read about it, Barney suffered. He suffered all through his life. That wasn't
it. Did. And to be honest with you, he was actually terminated by the Men in Black.
Yeah, I've read that too. You listen to his story and then his life post event, and just forget the idea of people antagonizing or forget even the Men in Black. No sleep at night, sweats all the time, developed high anxiety.
Oh yeah, that really affected him psychologically. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't prepared to make room for that. That there is something else, let alone that he was taken against his will, right?
Exactly.
And in that time, I don't think everyone is going to remember their encounter. I think something surrounding the two of them allowed for that, some kind of anomaly in that area, right? Because most people.
It started out with hypnotic aggression, which Betty, under hypnotic regression, she drew a star map.
Oh, that's right. Something we didn't even know about at the time.
Yeah, that the astrologists and all that weren't aware of. And then she passed away, and a few years later, they actually found it, and it was exactly the way she depicted it.
Yeah, that gives a lot of credence to that. That's strong.
Yeah, another case I believe is authentic is what's his name there? Travis Walton. You see that movie Fire in the Sky?
Yeah, that movie frightened me as a kid. I gotta look.
I believe that's authentic.
Yeah, what I do now, why I'm doing this is all from childhood curiosity, my imagination. Like nothing I say comes from science; it's from theory, right? From a child like mine. And as a kid, I watched that movie, and that frightened the life out of me because not just the effects of what they look like, but
Well, yeah, it can be scary. I mean, especially being a child.
And he was helpless in that scenario. And that's what's frightened me the most. Like there was just nothing he could do. So yeah.
Well, you know what I think? What I think actually happened in that case was that it had been lightning at that same time, and I think he got struck by lightning. Believe it or not, that's why he got blown back and thrown back the way he did. And I believe the aliens took him on board to bring him back. To be honest with you, or to help him out medically, so that he would survive what had occurred. Yeah,
that's a good theory. I mean, there's another theory running on that, is that they were damaged by lightning, and where they were trying to fix their ship, and he just curiously got too close to it while they were doing that, and what happened was, as documented, and then they elected to take him to fix him because they're here again. They're here to study us. Here's an example. When we go study big cats in the wild, we're not allowed to intervene with them, period. We're supposed to video, no matter what happens. But if we do something, if we hit him with a truck, we're responsible to heal that animal because we intervened. It's our fault the animal's hurt. So so same rules apply. They're here to
Right,
observe
exactly.
us. They
I agree. Yeah,
and they
I
injured
agree.
one of us, and they're responsible to fix them. Hence why it took 5 days, right? Because we don't know what kind of radiation poisoning he absorbed from that. Yeah, I reached out to Travis Walton through a friend, Stacy Wright. Hopefully here soon I'll have him on the show. I'm going to speak to him. His case is well documented. I want to speak to him more along the lines of his theories and his thoughts, because he has a lot. He's a really smart guy.
Oh, he is. Yeah. I mean, he's done plenty of presentations and whatnot. But what fascinates me about that case is everybody involved, including his crew, passed numerous polygraph exams.
Yeah.
So I mean,
listen,
that's gonna say something about it. You know what I mean? Here's
the pattern I find, and I've heard Travis recently speak of this on another podcast. He had experiences prior to that as a child, and I'm led to believe, and this is all a theory and pattern I have in my own mind, is that people are pre-selected. They want to study you from the day you're born right up until the day you're deceased. And I think what ended up happening at that particular night, like I said, and there was a lot of lightning that night, as documented, the ship was damaged. They're down. They're making repairs. Travis sees it. He rolls up on it with pure curiosity, and an accident happened. And then they took him aboard to fix him. I mean, this is my theory I run with.
Yeah, that's my guess. Yeah.
So and I don't want to, by the way, I don't want to call anyone abductees. I feel like that makes them a victim. I want to call them experiencers, right? Sounds better.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
All the experiencers I've come across, this pattern seems to be reemerging, where they see this in childhood, and some have it as night terror. It really depends on the person how you accept things. I'm a weirdo. I run towards problems. I'm gonna do a documentary on these subjects, whether it be paranormal and do everything. And I'm gonna be the guy. If I do find something, chances are I'm not coming back, because I'm gonna run right at whatever it is, and it'll be documented. So. But for you, in your experience, you definitely had something happen in your youth, and then again repeated in 2012.
Correct.
Which tells me you're part of a study group.
Yeah, well, it goes beyond that. Believe it or not, since that transpired, I've had the ability to energetically heal others, which I've been quite successful at. I don't do this out in the open. I don't really usually broadcast it. I don't do it for any money.
Right.
But that is a fact.
Yeah. I speak to a lot of people about specifically the power of the mind, how powerful the mind, our brain is probably one of the most complex computers in existence currently. And if you channel it to its full capacity, who knows? You can do anything.
Yeah. Well, the main thing with that is belief.
Yeah.
Anybody can actually do it, but it's a hard thing to convince yourself of actually believing 101% in something like that. You always get that little voice in the back of your head there that's saying, what am I trying? What am I even trying this for? What am I stupid? This ain't going to work, and it never will.
I call that
that's
popular
popular
logic by the masses is what I call that.
Right. Yeah. That's why the majority will never be able to do it.
Trust me, as a kid, I thought I was a Jedi. I used to sit around trying to make things move in my mind. Believe me, I did that as a kid. At some level, I kind of feel like I could still do it, right? Hopefully, one day. I say this too often, or at least I'm learning to say this, because my theories evolve. The more I'm learning, the more I speak to people, my theories evolve. I'm not set in any one position. My overall theory is that the gray aliens are extremely advanced robots. They have like something biological as would they as flesh.
Well, what it is they're generic. Actually, I mean they're like clones of each other.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot too. Actually,
they don't feel any emotion or like love or hate or anything like that as far as compared towards human beings.
Hear this theory out and tell me your thoughts on it. And this is not from science. This is my childhood curiosity and imagination running wild.
Mm-hmm.
I think them to be advanced robots where they have like a biological, and when I say biological exterior, we don't know we're carbon based, they could be silica based. We don't know what that biology is.
Right.
And it has the consciousness uploaded from their speed. Like they've come to the part where they could upload their consciousness and download their consciousness. And you can't tell them apart. And even in your theory, the same thing where they're cloned.
Right.
And the eyes, as large as they are, to me, if you look at the eyes and you compare it to, modern day military, they look like sensors, right? Multiple sensors and scanners inside of them. So that's just my theory, though. But again, the more interviews I do, the more people I speak to, it's evolving. Because what you're saying, Mike Penicello, MUFON guy, right on point with you with that. The whole concept of them being cloned of one another, and they're made to be like the drones of the beehive. I like that theory too. I mean, I have to say that because every case I read and come across, it's the same thing. They're emotionless, and when they speak to you, it seems like telepathy.
Well, it is, yeah. They communicate in a telepathic manner, yeah.
Right. Now, bear this in mind. Here's another theory of mine. Like we have Bluetooth. Now, this theory, prior to Bluetooth, they're telepathic. We don't know if it's their version of Bluetooth, like what Elon's got now, where there's going to be a chip in the brain and you can communicate directly with no words needed. Bear in mind technology, and if you look at our technology, it's more advanced than our race, right? We're still racist people. Our technology is leaping past us. Technology doesn't understand the difference between black, white, and otherwise. That frankly doesn't care.
It's heading to AI, the artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and AI is not going to discriminate because they don't understand that. So I don't know. There's a lot of things out there that are more threatening to me than what aliens would be, like humans. So I don't know. As far as the experiencers, you have the Facebook page, which I'll share in this podcast, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
I would be interested in speaking to more experience. I'm sure if you have that page, then you have a bunch of them have had something. I'm going to have an episode where I have like 4 or 5 of them on and just talk about their story and their experience.
Yeah, well, I can connect you with an individual that I met on Facebook probably like 3-4 years ago that we became friends. And since he's connected with me, he's had some experiences of his own. So I could probably hook you up with him to come on the show.
Yeah, it'd be good for like you and him and like the other people that want to share their experience. They don't so much want to be on again, these podcasts, I'm not going to run them lengthy on those. But if I have like 4 or 5 of them on there, they could each share their experience. You know what I mean? And it gives people a platform to speak openly, because something said on this podcast, someone might hear it. One, make them feel better because they're not alone. 2, they know there's a platform they can reach out to and a group of people that could speak with, like-minded people.
Right.
It's like therapy. It helps you to understand this is commonplace.
Speaking of that, that's what I wanted to mention before. I held this in for probably a little over a year, and then I said to myself, that's it. I'm going to come out with it. Let them think I'm nuts, because that was basically what you just said. It was like a therapy for me to just get it off my chest.
Yeah, you need it. Listen, it was insane to say that you could have Bluetooth. Listen, go back 100 years and say, hey, we're gonna have things in our ears and we could talk to each other, from anywhere. People would call you nuts, right? Now it's commonplace.
Yeah.
Go back even further and discuss some of the medications and what they could do today, even a nootropic per se, and you would be called or a witch. You'd probably get lynched. And go or even hear this.
Yeah, you get burnt as a steak back then. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've heard this said before, and I believe it. Take a cell phone, today's cell phone, back to the 1700s. You'll get lynched. You're a warlock at that point.
Yeah.
So you got to make room. And I'm going to be honest. Why haven't we seen them? Why have they come to us yet? Bear this in mind. Whether they be cloned or advanced robots, they're basically immortal and they're here to study us. And we don't know the time. They have no time constraint. That's indefinite for all we. You know what I mean?
I have a theory on that. I believe we're a result of an experiment performed by a higher intelligence of life, the extraterrestrials themselves. Our DNA and the DNA of the great ape species is 98 to 99% identical. And my belief is that through genetic manipulation and artificial insemination between the great ape species and themselves, they created humans. And when they created us, they set us free. They didn't abandon us. And they've been watching our progress, monitoring our progress from a behind-the-scenes approach, because they realize that, we're individuals with free wills of our own. They don't want to force us into doing anything that is against our will. So as time has gone on, I believe there's been 2 major interventions that they've initiated. And the first one was with the island of Atlantis, which served as a learning facility uh, to jumpstart man's knowledge. And I believe during that time that that's when the man was taught mathematics, engineering, calculation, astronomy, and all that stuff. Is when the pyramids were built with the help of the extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
And the second intervention, as time went on, they're figuring, well, we got to do something now to. We've jump started his knowledge, but we've got to do something to get him out of that barbaric state that he's in. And what do I mean by that? For example, the Romans taking delight in observing, blood sports and death. So I believe that's when they introduced Jesus to millions worldwide. I believe that Jesus was actually an alien. Now, how did Mary get in a way with a child, being a virgin? Well, she was brought up into a craft, and they inserted what could be termed the essence of Jesus into her womb. And how did he resurrect? Well, the same way, brought up into a craft. Now, the three wise men, were they actually following the Star of Bethlehem or following alien spacecraft? And I believe the third and final intervention will be when things come to a head on our planet, which I feel isn't going to be too long down the road, because I believe their intention will be to save man from man himself.
I don't doubt it. Listen, some people hear that and say it sounds crazy. I hear that and say it's happening in science labs now. Everything you said, I'm going to give you two references. One, everything you said is happening in a science lab somewhere now. We are artificially inseminating creatures. We're messing with biology and DNA.
Right, exactly.
We're perfecting rats to do things that are amazing as far as intelligence, to see what we can do. And listen,
they're trying to crossbreed different breeds and all that stuff. Yeah.
So if they're doing that to the animals, they're doing it with the intention for us, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, here's the other flip side. Now, here's another thing where you mentioned about Atlantis. I watched this documentary, and I watched a lot of them, and they found basically computer parts or sprockets and all these wonderful inventions from ancient Greece. Right. And it all stopped one day. And I had to ask, why did this stop? So I did some research, and it turned out Rome took over with Catholicism, and basically anything of that kind of science was considered some sort of witchcraft. We're 2,000 years behind the ball of technology because religion suppressed the ability to do these things that they considered. And I'm not bashing religion. Again, I have no position, but still, that ideology at that era made it so if you were doing things like inventive like that, it would be considered some form of witchcraft. So we're 2,000 years behind, or else who knows what technology we'd have today.
Exactly.
So I agree with you on a lot of things you're saying, because some people are like, they're going to like, well, that sounds nuts. Well, look at our science labs now. It's not far off from what we're doing.
Another thing I'd like to add to that is, from primitive man all the way up to where we are today, all the missing links like Cro-Magnon man, Homo, up to Homo sapiens where we are today, we got to ask ourselves, what happened to all them missing links? And what that is different levels of the ongoing experiment that didn't live up to the extraterrestrials' expectations, and they were terminated and replaced by, the next level of experimentation. Now, we're the latest level, but the problem with that is we're the most lethal.
Yeah. We also evolved faster than most, from what I'm understanding. And that could be.
Yeah, but you got to understand, if it was natural evolution from the apes, right? The apes should right now be extinct. But yet, the apes have been around here for millions of years, and they're still sharing the earth with modern man.
Yeah, I agree with you, because if you follow Graham Hancock and some of his theories about the, civilizations have come and gone, the missing link, it's very explainable. You know what I mean? Like, this planet's really old, and
Oh yeah, billions of years old.
Yeah, and so reading Graham Hancock's material and listening to his videos has changed my position on man's evolution and the history of man significantly. Because it's not like he's just speaking in theory. He's got a lot of good evidence, like really good evidence. I'm not sure why the science community is not, a little more behind that. It all makes sense, especially when I look for patterns. And everything he said, you research it, that pattern it emerges. So Is a higher intelligence influencing our DNA? Sure. I mean, why not? And if how would we prove otherwise?
Right. And when it comes to scientists, that's all part of the people who are controlled, basically, like in control the 1%. And they only let us know what they feel they want to let us know. So
yeah. I mean, look, I was a kid as well when I first saw a human ear on a mouse.
Like I remember that. Yeah.
That blew me away.
Out of the back of a mouse. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they
I mean,
did that in the lab. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
Who knows what we're doing then? And then if we're doing that, who knows what else does what? Like,
yeah. And if they had that way back then, imagine what they have today.
It's crazy, right?
That we're not aware of.
You really can't cast doubt on anything. Look, this phenomena with the UFOs. Look, I don't disagree that people, it became a hysteria in the 40s, and then it grew, and it became. That could be said, yeah, it became a hysteria, and it grew in popularity, et cetera, et cetera. That could be said. Or flip side of the coin, people are speaking about it, and it gave more comfort to other people to speak about it.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's two sides of the coin. You can't view it as all. It just became popular during, Roswell.
And I mean, with all these reports and cases, I mean, thousands upon thousands. I mean, they can't all be bogus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Look, in my teens and 20s, I lost my interest in the UFO phenomenon. Not because it wasn't interesting, but I shot pool. I went and hung out with friends. I didn't stay home. I didn't play games. I didn't. I was one of those guys. I was out. Right. 2017 rolls around, and I see these videos from our military, and you can't deny that. That's undeniable. That's evident. Like that, what David Fravor was up against and some of these other guys, that should frighten the general public, right? Our best military aircraft were being outmaneuvered as if we were sitting still. And
yeah, well, now that you mentioned that, I believe that the powers that be there are going to create a false flag of an alien invasion. To put fear in us. In other words, to have us fear the extraterrestrials, which couldn't be further from the truth, because I believe what they're going to do is they get all this advanced technology now with holograms. They can make spaceships appear in the sky and make them appear as though they're firing weapons, when in reality, the weapons are being fired by the military itself. So, I mean, we got to beware of that.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah. I believe that's coming.
Keep in mind that the UFOs, the phenomena itself, it did the military a favor, right? Because now they can go test whatever they want over say Area 51 or other locations. And the scapegoat is easily going to be UFO, right? So it's not, I don't even really think it's a cover up, because here's what I personally don't believe aliens are talking with the government. I don't think they were, especially with the military pilots, I think the government just can't do shit about it, and that's why they're in their position. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, there's been reports. There was one good news report on Larry King Live there, which is a reputable news outlet, and he had 5 military guys on there that attested that they observed UFOs over different military bases, and they had the technology to cut the power to the weaponry, and it would take the military over 24 hours to reboot it to its status where it could refire. And that's not only happened here in the U.S., but it's happened worldwide.
Yeah.
So that tells me they're doing their homework and doing their dry runs, testing their technology, that they can prevent us from destroying ourselves.
Let's put this to scale, right? You and I are walking in a park, and I've said this before. A lot of people are going to hear me say this a lot. I apologize, but I want to put it in perspective. You and I are walking in a park. We see an ant colony, and they're driving cars, they're flying planes, they're throwing bombs at each other. We're going to close the park, and we're going to watch that, see how that unfolds, right? Forever, exactly. For as long as possible. And the minute they have military installations, the first thing we're going to monitor closely are the military installations. That's because that's to scale. We're not threatened by the ant. If they're throwing even nuclear bombs at their scale, it's only going to threaten that park. We're not going to intervene until we see that they're building something that's going to threaten, per se, the whole planet. That's when we intervene. But till then, sit back and watch, because we're going to want to see their evolution, how they come along, what technologies, are they going to have ideologies? Are they going to be biased? And then look at us, and it's the same thing. We're going to be studied, and they're going to do it from afar. And if they are very advanced, they have really no reason to talk to us. I mean, as intelligent as some of us are, to them it's unimportant. They'd rather watch. Well, let's see if the intelligent one creates something greater to help his species. You know what I mean? It's long-term study, and people have to make room for that. I do. In your experience,
I think religion is. To be honest with you, it's a big farce. I think it's caused a lot of ill amongst men, to be honest with you. They teach you on the dark side there to fear the dark side, negativity, Satan. And they also put fear into you with a good and loving God by stating that if you don't do his will, you will feel the wrath of the God, right? A good and loving God.
Yeah.
Now, no matter how you look at it, it's fear-based. So now, through fear, it allows, a very few to control the masses. And that's what's been going on for thousands of years. And every generation upon generation that's been born into society with these religious beliefs, there's no greater brainwash.
Yeah. I'll tell you here with religion, religion's got its good qualities and its bad ones. The bad qualities is there's a lot of control, right? And like you said, it's fear-based control. This way, I mean, I'm not going to speak negatively, but you see some of these cathedrals that are made out of marble, finery stones, some of the best woods, and they're nonprofit. It blows my mind. You know what I mean? Like,
right, exactly.
They're wealthy. I've never seen a Catholic church, specifically in the Northeast, that was underbuilt. And there was where I grew up in Brooklyn. There was a church there. It looked like an artist made it from scratch. It was beautiful, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So. Yeah, there's a lot of control there. I get that. There's
a lot of control, a lot of funds, a lot of money. Not only that, they do evil under the guise of good.
Listen, we're humans. Evil's in our DNA. So that brings me to the next point. Why?
Well, that's my point. To me, it can't be separated. To me, God and Satan are one.
Right. So here's the thing about that too, and I'll say this: here's the good side of religion, and it's unfortunate that we need it. It's the same fear that says, "Well, I can't kill Jim next door because I'll go to hell." You know what I mean? Because look, this is something you'll hear from me often too. It's 2021. Somehow we're racist still. Somehow we have these lines in the sand, whether it be you're a Republican, Democrat. I have no.
Well, that's all an illusion. Just at the end of the day, they're all sleeping in the same bed together. Yeah. That's a way for them. That's by design for them to divide.
But here's the problem I have with that. It gives people reason to be in a camp and dislike the other camp. Where
exactly.
And this is my belief system. My belief system is if you want a religion, humanity. If you want a race, human. And if you want a place to call home, Earth. It's real easy.
Right. Exactly.
We should behave like a species.
It's as simple as that. Yeah.
So, I'm not discrediting religion and some of the lore that comes with it because I don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, again, I don't doubt anything at all.
Yeah. They teach you to fear the darkness, but, when you stop to think about it, everything is created within the dark and comes into the light.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
I was in a womb for 9 months. I traveled down the tunnel and into the light. All the trees that provide our oxygen and food and sustenance that the earth provides grows out of the darkness of the ground and into the light. Years ago, before all this fancy technology, the only way a photographer could develop a picture off a negative was in a dark room. You know what I mean? After a long day's work, we're exhausted. We come home, we turn the lights down low, we shut our eyes, and we slip into the tranquility of darkness. So there's nothing really to fear about darkness. You know what I do? You got light and darkness. I travel a path straight down the middle. I acknowledge, respect both, but worship neither.
That's the way it should be. No position.
That's right.
I don't know. Especially with experiencers. We'll start there. I do a lot of off podcast interviews, and the reason being some of these are doctors, lawyers, cops,
right?
And they want to talk about their experience, and they don't sound crazy to me. And yet, the same guy, the doctor I'd spoken to from Texas, and the cop who's from Nebraska, their stories sound identical, and I know they don't know each other. And I guess you could say it's, popular fiction, et cetera, but there's a couple things they said to me that let me know, and I've never heard. One thing they both said to me, I'm not even going to say it on air. I'll tell you off podcast.
All right.
Because I don't want to get, I don't want anyone to even get a clue of that, because I'm going to use that as a point in the future for filter. But there was something they both said that I'd never heard anywhere before, and it blew me away.
All right.
That they even said it in sync like that. I mean, I've heard, don't get me wrong, I've heard look, we're humans. There's some crazy people, right?
Oh yeah.
And I've gotten some crazy people. I'm not going to dispute that. So, yeah, I was telling another guy this. I had a guy hang up on me in the because he thought I was part of the CIA or whatever. And I don't even know. But the point I make is this phenomena's got some water in it. There's some gravity to it, because when you have two professionals who speak about this stuff and they don't know each other, they're separated by state, and there's that one detail that I heard that, and after hearing it, when I say I'm one of these people, when I research, I go down rabbit holes for hours, and I couldn't find that. It just was not repeated again. So I'm going to use that as a future filter. So when I hear when I hear from experiencers, everyone's got there's differences, right? Because our perception's altered from person to person. And
well, exactly. Yeah. That's, and everybody's in search of the truth. There is no one truth. The extent of the truth that anybody will come to during the course of this lifetime is what each individual perceives as being their personal truth.
Yeah. For me too, like, let's say aliens show up to my house, and, I personally never witnessed anything at all. I think I say this because I'm an unlucky person, I guess, because I don't know. Like, I saw one thing, and I said this many times, where I thought it was a UFO. It was blue or aqua in color, but it was in the middle of a thunderstorm, and it was consumed by the storm. And I'll really just never know what that was. But outside of that, I've never witnessed anything. So when I say aliens show up to my house, if given I have the moment to communicate, I'm going to tell them, look, you don't have to render my conscience. I won't speak a word because I'm selfish, right? Take me aboard a ship, plug away, probe whatever you please. But I just need something in return, and that's going to be in the knowledge. I guess your overall knowledge. What can you do for me, et cetera? I won't tell nobody. Sorry, guys, if you're listening, if they're going to come get me, please. But I've yet to see anything. It sucks. And I'm going to travel around doing a documentary, and I'm going to
careful what you wish for. It's something that just might.
I hear that a lot, and I want it. Like, listen, again, I'm a weirdo. Like, I'll be in the house middle of the night, hear a strange noise, and I'll just talk like, all right, if you're here, come on, please. Because what the most punishing part of that is? Going to bed wondering, was that something? Damn it. Or am I losing my mind? You know what I mean? So that's the rough part for me. But in your investigation so far, have you been able to document any UFOs per se?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's many different types of crafts that have been reported, as sightings, but I'm sure there's many different crafts out there, probably.
Well, yeah,
just like there's different species, alien species.
Yeah, like we have cars, like vans, trucks, buses. They all have different purposes. Yeah, I say that a lot too. I mean, especially if they're really advanced, don't think they're going to be floating around on one thing. Period. So
right? Exactly.
They want a new car too. So, but for you so far in your experience, nothing else since that 2012 event.
No, not physically like that, but I mean, I do get downloads every once in a while. I am a contactee telepathically. I get downloads. I mean, a lot of the information that I'm speaking of now comes through that there. So,
damn, I want downloads. So outside of that, nothing physical, nothing up front. So some of the people that have reached out to you that have been experiencers, has any of them had something that was, let's say, not benign, something frightening?
Yeah, well, that one gentleman I was telling you about that I can hook you up with as a guest, he had an experience where he was lying in bed, and then he opened his eyes, and he was experienced sleep paralysis, and he seen 3 alien shot grays at the foot of his bed. And he can explain that more to you when you get him on the show. Yeah. But and then there was another incident where I believe there was another 3 aliens that paid him a visit, and one approached him, and he said he was scared shitless. He said the alien reached towards him and touched his chest, and he said as soon as that the alien put his hand on his chest, it felt like God was touching him. He felt so calm and serene. And at the time, he had been having lung problems with spitting up blood and whatnot. And he said after that incident, his lungs were fine.
I gotta tell you, that's exactly what I look for, I guess, right? Like that's what the experience I would want.
Well, yeah, and they had another bizarre experiment. I mean, I don't want to give it all away. I'm gonna.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You know, here's this is another theory of mine. I've spoken to a lot of MUFON people, a lot. I'd spoken to a lot of investigators, private or otherwise. And I'm finding that, so the patterns, they're saying abductions are slowing down. And when they said that, it made me wonder, like, well, are they done with us? But then I realized why. Look at the era we're in. Every phone, TV, computer, or something has audio and video attached to it.
Security cameras very, very, very easily.
We've really made it easy for them, right? There's really just no work anymore, other than if they have to come aboard and maybe put something on you, on your person or whatever it is. But outside of that, watching us has become way too easy for them. And there's nowhere to hide in this current era, right? The same thing people moan about the government having, they can infiltrate if you think about it. Like right now in the room I'm in now, the studio, there's
of course. Yeah, of course.
Ton of stuff in here has cameras on it and audio. So they could, so if they
get everything now, the face recognition and all that.
So that when he said that it was slowing down, or a few of them said that, it made me think of that, because we have all this technology that they could just use. I'm not going to say against us, for their interest in monitoring us, right? So, of course, they're going to slow down abductions because they don't need to anymore. Now they could just watch you like it's. They could kick back in their couch, I guess, and just pay attention.
Yeah, it's just like watching a movie or a TV monitor. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, highways everywhere you look's a camera everywhere, and by the next decade, who knows? We'll have drones monitoring for public safety and et cetera. And for them, that's so. Most people are saying, "Well, there's more cameras in the world. How come we're not seeing more of them?" Well, they don't. They don't really necessarily need to come here anymore. We're doing them a favor. That's just the facts I come with.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if our conversation is being monitored at the moment.
Well, if it is, listen, I take me, please, and I won't tell anybody. I just want to learn and ask questions, but I'm not going to say a word, I promise. So, or at least for 10 years, disclaimer. So this way, for a future show. But anyway, Jim, before we close, is there anything you want to add?
Well, I'd like to add one thing, and this is a favorite saying of mine, and it's life is a journey to be experienced, not a problem to be solved.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I'm going to put that in the description. Well, Jim, I enjoyed talking to you, man. I really did.
Yeah, same here, my friend.
We'll definitely connect again in the future. And I'll get the Facebook page on the description, and yeah, we'll have future conversations. I assure you that much. All right, Jim, you have a good night, sir.
Oh yeah. I'll be here anytime you want to contact me. Feel free.
Perfect, Jim. It's been a pleasure, sir.
Same here. Thanks for having me on.
Indeed. Have a good night, sir.
All right. You as well.